The pregnancy test trembled in Sarah's hands as tears blurred her vision. 2 pink lines. Clear as day. She stared at them for what felt like eternity before tearing the plastic stick into pieces and letting them scatter across the bathroom floor. Just hours earlier, she had signed the divorce papers ending her 5-year marriage to Michael. How cruel that life would choose this exact moment to tell her she was carrying his child, a child he had made abundantly clear he never wanted. A child she would now raise alone. If you've ever felt like your world was collapsing around you, like every dream you built had shattered in a single day, stay with me. Because what happened next changed everything. If this story resonates with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories that remind us of the unexpected ways love finds its way back to us, even when all hope seems lost. Sarah met Michael during her final year of medical school. He was brilliant, ambitious, and working at a tech startup that consumed nearly every waking hour of his life. Their connection was immediate, both driven, both passionate about their careers, both certain they'd found their perfect match. They married quickly, perhaps too quickly, swept up in the intoxicating feeling of having found the one. The first years were blissful. They bought a small apartment in the city, worked long hours, and fell into bed exhausted but happy at the end of each day. They were building something together, a life, a future. But they rarely discussed what that future would actually look like beyond their careers. When Sarah completed her residency and finally had time to breathe, to think about what came next, she realized she wanted a family. She'd always imagined herself as a mother someday. Michael's response was immediate and unwavering. Children weren't part of his plan. Never had been. He was focused on his company going public, on traveling the world, on the freedom they currently enjoyed. "We never talked about this," Sarah said, her voice small in their kitchen one night. "I thought we were on the same page," Michael replied, not meeting her eyes. "I thought we both wanted careers first. Maybe only careers." The argument that night was their first real fight. It wouldn't be their last. For months, they circled each other, the tension growing, the distance between them widening. Sarah took extra shifts at the hospital. Michael stayed later at the office. They became strangers sharing a home, the love that had once seemed so certain now buried beneath resentment and unspoken words. When Michael suggested separation, Sarah wasn't surprised. When divorce papers arrived 6 months later, she signed them with a hand that only trembled slightly. And when she discovered she was pregnant that very same day, she made a decision that would alter the course of her life forever. She wouldn't tell him. She would leave, start fresh somewhere new, and raise this child on her own. Sarah moved across the country to Seattle, where an old medical school friend had connections at a hospital looking for an emergency physician. She told no one about the pregnancy except her parents, who were supportive but concerned. She worked until her 8th month, took minimal maternity leave, and returned to the hospital with Emma strapped to her chest whenever she wasn't on shift. Single motherhood was harder than anything Sarah had ever done. Harder than medical school, harder than residency. There were nights she cried alongside her colicky infant, both of them exhausted and overwhelmed. There were mornings she questioned every decision she'd ever made. But there was also a love so fierce and all-consuming that it made everything else fade away. Emma became her world, her reason for everything. For 3 years, Sarah heard nothing from Michael. She assumed he had moved on, perhaps found someone who shared his vision of a child-free life. She dated occasionally, but no one ever felt right. No one ever made her feel the way Michael had, before everything fell apart. Then came the call that changed everything. "Dr. Reynolds? There's someone here asking for you. Says it's urgent." The nurse's voice crackled over the hospital intercom. Sarah finished stitching up her patient's wound before heading to the waiting area, expecting a family member of someone she'd treated. Instead, she found Michael, looking older, more weathered, but unmistakably the man she'd once promised forever to. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Your parents told me where to find you, he said. I've been looking for months. Why? Because I made the biggest mistake of my life letting you go. Sarah felt the walls she'd carefully constructed beginning to crack. It's been 3 years, Michael. 3 years without a word. I know. I thought I knew what I wanted back then. I was wrong. His eyes were red-rimmed, his voice hoarse. Can we talk? Please. They sat in the hospital cafeteria, the fluorescent lights harsh above them. Michael told her how after she left, he threw himself into work, achieved everything he thought he wanted, the IPO, the financial success, the freedom. And found it all meaningless without her. I've been in therapy, he said. Trying to understand why I was so afraid of having a family. It was never about not wanting children. It was about being terrified of failing them the way my father failed me. Sarah listened, her heart racing. She hadn't told him about Emma yet. Didn't know if she should. I'm not asking for anything, Michael continued. I just needed you to know that I'm sorry. That I've changed. That if I could go back. I have a daughter, Sarah interrupted. The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Michael's expression shifted from confusion to shock. You met someone else? Sarah took a deep breath. No. She's 3 years old. She has your eyes. The color drained from Michael's face as understanding dawned. You were pregnant when we divorced? Sarah nodded, tears filling her eyes. I found out the day I signed the papers. You had made it so clear you didn't want children. I couldn't force that on you. Can I meet her? Michael asked, his voice breaking. That first meeting was awkward, tentative. Emma was shy around this stranger, hiding behind Sarah's legs. Michael was overwhelmed, staring at this little person who was half him, trying to process 3 years of missed moments. She likes dinosaurs, Sarah offered. And strawberry ice cream. And she hates having her hair brushed. Michael nodded, drinking in every detail. May I come back tomorrow? Days turned into weeks. Michael found a temporary apartment nearby. He visited every day, slowly earning Emma's trust. He read her stories, built block towers, learned the names of all her stuffed animals. Sarah watched, cautious, protective, but also seeing glimpses of the man she had fallen in love with. I'm not asking to disrupt your lives, Michael told Sarah one night after Emma had gone to bed. I just want to be part of hers. Part of yours, in whatever way you'll allow. And what happens when you go back to your real life? Sarah asked. This is my real life now, he said simply. I've resigned from the company. I can work remotely from anywhere. I'll move to Seattle permanently if you'll let me be in Emma's life. Trust came slowly. Co-parenting was complicated. There were arguments about schedules, about parenting styles, about the past and the secrets kept. But there were also moments of unexpected joy, watching Emma run to Michael with outstretched arms, hearing her call him Daddy for the first time, seeing the look on his face when she fell asleep against his chest. 4 years passed this way. Michael became a constant in their lives, a devoted father who never missed a school event or a doctor's appointment. He and Sarah developed a friendship built on their shared love for their daughter, a careful dance of boundaries and growing respect. And then, on Emma's 7th birthday, everything shifted again. The party was over, Emma asleep surrounded by new toys. Sarah and Michael sat on her back porch, sharing a bottle of wine, exhausted but content. Do you ever think about what might have happened if we talked more back then? Michael asked quietly. If I hadn't been so afraid? Sarah looked at him in the soft porch light. Sometimes. But then we wouldn't have Emma exactly as she is. Every moment led to her. I still love you, Michael said. I never stopped. Not for a single day. Sarah felt her heart constrict. Michael. "I'm not asking for anything," he said quickly. "I just needed you to know. These past 4 years, watching you as a mother, seeing your strength, your compassion. I fall more in love with you every day. But your friendship, being Emma's father, that's enough. It's more than I deserve." Sarah reached for his hand, intertwining their fingers. "I never stopped loving you either. I tried. But some loves don't die, they just change shape." 7 years after signing divorce papers and tearing up a pregnancy test, Sarah and Michael remarried in a small ceremony with Emma as their flower girl. Their journey wasn't a straight line from heartbreak to happiness. It was messy and complicated and full of hard-earned growth. Today, they have 2 more children, twin boys who have Michael's smile and Sarah's determination. Their home is chaotic and loud and filled with more love than either of them thought possible on that day when everything seemed to end. Sometimes the most beautiful love stories aren't about perfect people finding each other at the perfect time. They're about imperfect people losing each other, finding themselves, and then choosing each other again with open eyes and healing hearts. They're about the families we create through pain and joy and second chances. If you've stayed with me until the end of this story, remember that endings are sometimes just beginnings in disguise. The darkest moments can lead to the brightest futures. And sometimes, love finds its way back to us in the most unexpected ways. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us of the power of forgiveness, growth, and love that perseveres against all odds.